My name is Emily Crow, the maker and designer behind Crochet Creations, and I am here today to talk about all things yarn with you. We're going to do a podcast style. I'm going to have my finished objects, my whips, my plans, everything that's happening from September looking into October. Today is October 1st. It is the start of spooky season. I am so excited, and I have lots of fun things to talk to you about. If you are new here to my channel, welcome so much. I'm really happy to have you, and if you're not new, I'm so glad that you're back. Here on YouTube, I like to share things like yarn vlogs, day in the life of a work-at-home mom, even some tutorials, some other sharing of yarny things, and kind of share with you my maker journey. And so if that is something that you're interested in, then I would love to have you. Please like and comment on this video if you enjoy this type of content, and if you want to see more from me, please subscribe and hit the bell notification. This is my first time doing a podcast style video here on YouTube, and so I'm just trying things out. Definitely leave me any comments and suggestions down below for anything that you'd like to see from me. We will get into this. So, not exciting, but I am drinking my water, trying to stay hydrated. I breastfeed my little girl. She's 11 months old, and so I need to drink lots and lots of water. So I might be taking some water breaks. We'll start off with my finished objects from September, and then we'll go into my works in progress, dream makes that I hope to cast on or start in October, and just all other things going on with Crochet Creations. I've got my finished objects surrounding me, so I can share a little bit about what I've been making recently. I'll start off with some pattern tests I completed. This is my first ever knit garment pattern test, and I was so scared to volunteer, but I'm so happy that I did and I pushed myself. I recently learned how to knit. I started, I think, in May, and I knit with the goal to learn how to knit socks. Fell in love with it, and I've been trying to learn and broaden my skills since then. So I have this sweater. It's called the Seaside V-neck by Knit by Jules, and it is a DK weight garment. I'll pop a picture up so you can see how it fits me. But it is made in Universal Yarn Infusion Handpaints in Hydropower, and the Fibre company Lume and Sage is the contrast color. It's got just an inch of positive ease on me on my bust. It has this cute V-neck, and it's a 3/4 length sleeve. It's meant to be a little bit cropped, and so I have a longer torso. I added a couple inches beyond what the pattern calls for, just to make sure that it fit my long torso and hit where I wanted it to on high-waisted jeans. That is that. I'm super proud of it. I like the color on me, on my skin tone. I did not alternate skeins because I was lazy. And so you can tell there's a little bit of color pooling, and you can kind of see where the different skeins are, but it's not too noticeable because this yarn is so variegated, and I wasn't bothered. I have still worn it a few times since I knit it up, and I live in California, so it's not really sweater weather yet. But I love this. I learned a couple new things, a provisional cast on, just the whole garment construction. I did short row shaping with German short rows. I learned a lot of really fundamental skills for making garments, and I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I learned that I'm kind of a slow knitter. I kind of had to pace myself the whole time through the test, and I was able to finish in time, but it was a lot of work to knit this. A lot bigger than a sock, but I'm really glad I did it, and I have an itch to knit more garments. I did a couple other small pattern tests. I made this pair of socks for my daughter. It's called the Madeira socks. It's a Portuguese word for like woodworker, wood turner, and I think it's also the name of an island, which was the inspiration. Anyway, this design is by Rosie Birch Designs, and I made the size, for testing it was called 2A. It was like a child toddler size. My baby girl, she has very chunky feet, so socks don't fit her. So I just made the size that would fit around her foot, and I knit as long as that size called for instead of making it fit to her, so that she can hopefully grow into them. Hopefully her feet will slim up as she gets a little bit older, but we shall see. So they're a little long on her, but they fit her around really well. It's got this beautiful 1x1 cabling, so that was my first time trying cables. and it was, I guess, a little bit fiddly, just trying to get used to it, but it was really addictive to get into the rhythm of doing the cabling rows. And so I had a lot of fun, and I would love to do some more cabling. It's not so intimidating now that I've tried it. And the yarn I used is some leftover yarn from a pair of socks I made my husband a couple months ago in August for his birthday. It is Emma's Yarn Practically Perfect Sock in the colorway Elephant. And so I used up some more of that scrap yarn. And then my last pattern test, I worked on this crochet hat. It's the bow hat by Oi Oi Crochet. She reached out to me and asked if I would like to test it for her. It had already been published, but she really just wanted to grow the reach of this pattern, and I thought this pattern was really, really cute. And so I thought I would give it a try. I am glad that I did, though I had a lot on my plate, and so it took me longer to work on this than I had anticipated, but I'm glad I did it. This color is called Ecru. It's Cascade Yarns Nifty Cotton in the color Ecru, because I figured it was neutral, it would go with everything. It could work for like the spring and summer, but also I think this shade of neutral is totally fine for the fall. Has this really cute bow detail. The construction was simpler than you would think. I think the most important part is trying to get gauge, and it's hard with a hat, just the shaping and crocheting in the round. The yarn I use is a worsted weight yarn, but I had to have a really tight gauge in order to give it more structure as a hat and to meet the gauge. But she includes measurements, so you can kind of check after a certain number of rounds, okay, is my hat big enough? Is it gonna work gauge? I did the small size, and I think it's really cute. I don't know if I'll wear it very much, and so I'm totally willing to gift it or sell it. I think it's super cute, and I'm glad I tried it out. I hadn't done any crochet pattern tests in a while, and this was just something different that I've never made something like this before, so I'm glad I did that. And then the last finished object I have is my own design. I'm trying to break up the video into smaller segments so that my camera doesn't turn off from speaking too long in one go. And this is called the Endless Seasons Infinity Scarf. And I use this beautiful yarn by Malabrigo. It's called Malabrigo Rios. It's their 100% superwash merino worsted weight yarn. And the color is called Piedras. And I just thought this was the most beautiful autumn colorway. It has all the different shades that you would want. And I made this scarf with the intent that it could go from being stylistically an infinity scarf, something to keep you a little bit warm, to transitioning into a nursing cover if you were out and about and wanted something to cover up just to keep like breastfeeding just a little bit more private. And so that is what this design is. And it's in testing right now. I have some testers. I'm starting to get some work in progress photos. I'm so excited to see this out in the world. I also made a second version of this just to double check my math in the pattern, and that version I will probably be gifting because I don't think I need 2 scarves. And the holidays are coming up, so good time to have gift designs. I'm really proud of this design and how it came together. It kind of has a yoke design so that it sits across the shoulders, and then it has like the front panel for the nursing cover slash the scarf idea. So I'm really happy with how this turned out geometrically. I'm really excited about it, and I hope other people get excited about it too, that even if they're not breastfeeding, that they will think this is like a really cute infinity scarf type design. Oh, last but not least, maybe least, I don't know. This was just a random stash buster project. My mom crocheted a baby blanket for my daughter right before she was born, and used this cute yarn that was it had like peachy and mint green, gray, and cream as like the colors, and it was striping yarn. It was Premier DK anti-pilling yarn, like everyday anti-pilling DK, something like that, in the color Just Peachy, and that was perfect. It matched my daughter's nursery colors. I wanted something that was a little bit girly but not super overtly girly, so that I could reuse some of the pieces if we have like a baby boy in the future. And I had some extra yarn. My mom gave me the extra so I could make something for my daughter. And I'd been making random bits and bobs with it, but I just decided I needed to use up the very last of this skein. And funnily enough, knitting, the yarn goes very far, way farther than in crochet. Crochet is definitely more of a yarn eater So I ended up making 2 hats for my daughter and a pair of mittens. And so I learned lots of new things. The hat is by Anna Ivleva on Ravelry. It's called the Toddler Double Brim Beanie. And so I learned how to do a double brim. I did a different method than she did in her pattern just because I didn't want to have to pull up my crochet hook or like slip stitch things together. I just knit the brim together. It's super easy actually. And followed her measurements for the toddler beanie, and then I had more yarn. So I made another beanie. I tried to make a size bigger so that Georgia could grow into it. That's my daughter's name. But I ran out of yarn. This was the very end of the skein. But it's about the same size as the other hat, so I guess I have a gift to give, or if we lose a hat or whatnot, if a hat gets dirty. These mittens are called the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. It's a free pattern, and it was really interesting because it's similar to sock construction if you were doing like top down. So you do the cuff, you do gusset increases for the thumb, and then you put the thumb stitches on waist yarn and finish up the fingers. Eye kitchener to close, then you go back and do the thumb. My second mitten actually turned out way uglier than the first. I had issues with the yarn that I grabbed at the split between the thumb and the fingers. I think I had issues with like the Kitchener shaping. I had issues counting my rows to make sure I had the same. I forgot to switch my needle size after the cuff. Like, I had all sorts of issues, but they still look like mittens and they'll still work perfectly fine, and my daughter won't even notice. She may not even keep these on her hands. We're going to Utah for Christmas this year, and so I figured we definitely need some warmer gear for when we're spending winter out there, so I made sure to make her some things. And I know that's months away, but I used up a skein of yarn, and I am happy that I have these done. That's exciting. Just a little bit, some small projects. It's so fun to make mittens or baby hats because they just work up so fast. All right, so we are moving on to our whips or works in progress that I started in September or earlier, and I'm bringing into October, hopefully finishing some, if not all of these soon, within the next month. I'll start with my pattern tests. I have a crochet pattern test. Anastasia from the Real Journey Channel Designs. She had this picture of this beautiful jacket, the Royal Bomber jacket, and it's got this beautiful like lacy texture to it, and it calls for a DK weight cotton. I knew this was perfect to stash bust. I have some Cascade Yarns Ultra Pima cotton. It's a DK weight in my stash. I don't know why I bought this yarn. Bought it a few years ago when I was first getting into local yarn stores. I don't know, I thought I would make like a sweater or like a shirt, like a summer shirt out of this cotton yarn, and so I bought like 3 different colorways I thought would go together to do some like striping or color blocking. I don't know what I was thinking because I look at that yarn and I haven't known what to do with it since I bought it, and so now I'm just using it up for this pattern test, and I'll show you some detail. It's so pretty. It uses a crown stitch, some treble crochets. It's a really pretty texture, and I think with blocking it'll really stretch out and be really lacy. So I'm using my multicolored skeins for the ribbing, and I'll do it on the sleeves. And then for the body, the lacy detail, I'm switching back and forth, kind of doing a fade between the darker blue and the lighter blue. I used up the darker blue already. Now I'm using the lighter blue, and I'm about halfway through the back, maybe a smidge more, and so I think it'll be perfect amount of yarn to use up those 2 colors on the lacy detail, and then I'll be able to use up more of the multicolored yarn, and we'll see how much of that I can work through for my stash. So this is a mega stash buster, using up like the only sweater quantity of yarn that I have and don't have a purpose for. So that's the Royal Bomber jacket. Honestly, this stitch pattern has been a little tricky. Mentally, I haven't challenged myself in crochet in a really long time. And so this is really good to get me out of my comfort zone, learn some new stitches and textures, but the repeat is pretty long, and so it took a couple rows to really get the hang of it. But now that I'm about halfway through the back, I feel really comfortable with the stitch pattern and the repeats, and so it's flying off my hook now. The very beginning, I felt like I was kind of slugging through it and really forcing myself to get a little bit done every day, just so I wouldn't have a ton to do at the very end of the pattern test. And now I'm really enjoying it. So it just took a little bit of time to get used to the pattern repeat, and I think it's healthy and good to challenge myself a little bit and learn new things with crochet, since I haven't done that in a while. My next pattern test is a sock pattern test, because I'm all about knitting socks right now. And I have so much sock yarn that I really want to try to use it up more and constantly have at least one pair of socks on my needles. I have more than that right now, as you will see. But I wanted to volunteer for this pattern test since I thought I had the perfect yarn for it. It's called the, ooh, I'm gonna butcher this name, I think. The
Arate
Socks by S Knits. And she's been on a sock designing roll recently. Like this past week, she keeps saying, oh, another pattern test. Oh, another pattern test. Oh, I worked up this another pair of socks. And I want to volunteer for all of the socks because I really do like her designs. I recently found her as a designer and I would love to continue supporting her and hopefully working with her. But this is my first test with her, and it's got this really cool cross stitch slash like 1x1 cabling detail. And what's cool is I learned how to do a new cast on method, the twisted German twisted cast on, twisted German cast on. And so that was a new cast on. I like how sturdy it is. It looks really neat and clean. And then I also learned how to do these cross stitches without using a cabling needle. And so that's been cool. It's a little bit slow going doing the pattern just because of doing the cross stitches. They take a little bit longer than a vanilla sock, but I'm really enjoying it and I'm trying to pace myself through this pattern test. I'm using Explorer Knits and Fibres yarn, her Denali sock base, which is an 80/20. It's in the colors Karma Chameleon is the main colorway, and then Nano Crystals is the contrast color. I bought the sock set from a recent update and I just love the colors so much, and I am really excited to actually be making a sock out of this instead of just holding off. I think I just need to be making the socks. If I want to make the socks, I should just make the socks. There won't be a perfect pattern. There's so many patterns to try and so many things to do that I should just go out and do it. And so that's what I'm doing with this. I'm using magic loops since that's the needles that I have right now. I haven't noticed any laddering. I've been pretty careful about keeping my tension. That's that other pattern test that I'm working on. While we're speaking of knit socks, I will share a couple more sock whips. After I finished the pattern test, the Madeira socks, I was hesitant to start another pair of socks. I think I just felt like it was too much work to cast on another pair of socks. I needed to mentally focus and I didn't know if I was mentally there. And then I started a pair of socks and I'm like, oh, like this was actually like not hard. Once you've done a few socks, and I'm still not really good at casting on, but usually I can just get a little YouTube refresher for a couple minutes and then I'm totally good to go and I'm on my way with a sock. But I started a pair of socks that I have been meaning to start for a while, and I'm calling these my apple socks. I'm just using a vanilla sock pattern, but I'm using this yarn by Divine Yarns. Monica Greco is the dyer, and she's from local to where I'm originally from in New York, upstate New York. This yarn is called, let's see, it's the Charm 50 sock base, so it's a 50-gram skein, and it's 100% superwash merino. The colorway is called Basket of Apples, and it's this like pinky tan base layer with some really rich apple red color. It really looks just like apples, and then there's some like green flecks in it too, and I really love the green flecks. It was just like that extra little touch that I really loved. I started knitting a pair of these, just I was gonna make a pair of shorty socks, and I didn't like how it was working up. I felt like the green was disappearing, and so I went and I bought, I don't have it right next to me, I'll put a picture up. I went and I bought some sock yarn from my local yarn store called Lane Yarns Jowl Superwash, or Jawohl. I'm not sure what language, maybe it's German. I'll have to look that up. But it's a 75/25 base, and they have this huge range of colors that my yarn store just started stocking. And so I found the perfect green color to contrast with the green flecks in this yarn to hopefully bring out more of that green. And so I started that sock. I have it, it's a toe up sock, and it came, that contrast color actually came with some reinforcement thread to hold double with it. I think I hear a baby, so I gotta hurry. Okay, so there's a baby that is waking up, so I gotta hurry. I'm trying to sneak this in with a nap. This contrast color actually came with some nylon thread to hold double with it, and so that's been something new I'm trying, the reinforcement thread. So I held it double on the toe, feels really sturdy, and then I just recently switched to the main color, so it's a little hard to see, but I am really liking how this is working up, and I really hope more of that green is gonna shine through in the main color. I think I probably will still do shorty socks. I'm not sure. I have plenty of yarn, so we'll see kind of what happens now. But I'll do the contrast for the heel with the reinforcement as well. And I'm just going to be using just a plain vanilla sock pattern. I think Joe Torres toe up with a choice of heel pattern that I did for my very first socks ever. I'm just following that pattern again, and I'm just using size 1 needles for this pair. The first pair I made, I used size 2 needles, and that yarn called for size 2 needles, and so I just went with it. But they're a little bit loose, and so I'm hoping that with the size 1 needles, it'll tighten them up just enough so that they are the perfect fit. And then last pair of sock whips. Woo! These I'm affectionately naming my Cocoa socks. So I ordered the variegated mini set from Treehouse Knits Cocoa collection. She did her first round of pre-orders a little while ago, maybe like a month or so ago. Loved these colors, and my family loves Cocoa. We watch it all the time, all year round, but especially this time of year. It's a favorite of ours. These colors and this yarn, they were spot on with the movie, and I just thought it would be so cool to knit a pair of socks for wearing when we watch Cocoa, that I would just really enjoy it, especially this time of year, this season of socks. So I decided on Laurel Knits color palette socks to use with the minis, and I'm just using some scrap yarn as my main color. Emma's yarn Practically Perfect sock in the color Elephant. I had about 25 grams left, and the designer told me when I messaged her on Instagram that it takes about 25 grams of yarn for the main color to make these socks, so I'm hoping it's just enough. And if it's a little short, they still have that yarn in a mini at my local yarn store, so I'll just pick up a little bit more. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Each stripe is a different color, and I'm still on the first sock. I have a long way to go, but it's been so fun. I do 15 rounds of the specific contrast color, and then I do 4 rounds of the main color, and so it's pretty fast switching the yarns, and so it feels like there's lots of progress. And most of it's in stockinette, but there's some twisted rib, and so it's going really fast. It's been so fun to see the colors work up because it's all variegated yarns. So I'm putting the more bright colors near the cuff, and then it'll fade down into the foot. So this purple color is called Eternal Life. The next one is Marigold Bridge. And then the other colors that I have not knit yet, I'll show you here: Land of the Living, Ofrenda, Remember Me, Everlasting, and Dante. So I thought this was the perfect fade set. I love how it's looking, and I'm so excited to see these socks work up. Yeah, they're just flying off my needles. Unfortunately, I have lots of other whips going on and some things with strong deadlines, and so I haven't been able to knit these socks as much as I wanted to. But when I can pick them up a little bit more, then I'm sure that they're gonna go really fast. So they've been super fun to work out. And I think I'll also have plenty of yarn left over to do a pair of like faded shorty socks, just a vanilla sock. So I think I may do that too, but we'll see. That's all my sock whips. I have just a couple crochet projects to share. So this is a longer term project that I've had on the mind for a while, and I should have started sooner, I'll say that. But I kind of wanted to wait until September to start it, and now it's taking a really long time because it's this design. It's the Seriously Soft Sweater by Stephanie Aaron, and it uses lace weight yarn. So I have Feza Opulent, which is a mix that has mohair in it, and it's that lace weight in this purpley color and this black color. It's taking a really long time because it's lace weight, and I thought it would go faster, and now it's October 1st, and I really wanted to finish the sweater in time for Halloween, and time is ticking fast. So I'm almost done with the yoke, and then I'll move on to short rows in the back. So yeah, I'm fading from black to purple. I just started my fade. It's gonna be kind of a long fade. So that's the plan. I really hope I finish in time a little nervous. I definitely need to dedicate more and more time to working on this, probably every night, just to make sure I can make the progress I want to, especially as I'm adding more and more stitches in the yoke, and then it'll be quite a bit of stitches in the body. It'll feel a little bit slow, I think. So I just gotta keep working on it. But yeah, I only have a couple more rows left. I think I will finish the yoke today, and then hopefully move on to the short rows either today or tomorrow. My last project is a Scrappy bag. You can check out the link in my description for my blog. I have monthly updates for my goal to attack my stash or use up the yarn I have to save money, make room, and to basically just develop a more minimalist mindset. So I'm using up some stash yarn, mostly because I got to the end of September, realized I had a bunch of new acquisitions, a bunch of new yarn, and I needed to use up more yarn in order to break even for the month. So I decided to work on this Scrappy project, and I'm really glad I did because I did not know what to do with the rest of this yarn. Cheapsies, Katona minis. They come in a big pack of like 109 little skeins, and I didn't know what to do with these, and I've been chipping away at them for little toys, amigurumi, hair bows, things like that, and I still have like, I don't know, maybe like 30 left, 20 left now maybe. And so I decided to do a Scrappy project and make a project bag. Since I have 3 different sock whips in the same sock project bag, I figured I needed a new one, and instead of going out and buying one, I would just make one. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm using up these colors, just going around. I'm doing like a sturdy slip stitching and then single crocheting around the slip stitch row into the row below it. So it's making it kind of like a double thick, a little bit sturdier standing on its own. I'm excited about this. I'll probably put the pattern up on my blog, but this is just something I'm chipping away at. I just started a week or 2 ago, and I'll just keep doing like maybe a color a night, maybe. We'll see how long it takes, but hopefully I'll finish this in October. I will have used up most, if not all, of that yarn, because I'm just at a loss for what to do with those little colors. It's a little bit tricky. It was a fun gift that I got. I won it in a giveaway, I think, but I'll be happy to have this out of my stash so I don't have to keep wondering what to do with it. With Attack My Stash, my original goal in January 2020 was to limit the amount of yarn that came into my life and use up the yarn that I already had in an effort to develop more minimal and intentional habits within my crafting. I've been working on this goal since then, and you can read monthly updates as well as big overarching reviews of this goal on my blog, and so I'll make sure to link that. Other than that, I've also been updating the goal over time. For this year in 2021, I've definitely strayed away from the whole don't buy any yarn. I've been buying more yarn from small businesses in order to support them. I think that's a worthwhile investment, and since I can afford to do that, I am very privileged that I can afford to do that. I'm definitely adding yarn to my stash, but it's yarn that I love and that helps support small businesses, and I'm still trying to work through my yarn. In September, I had a net yarn usage of 0 skeins. I brought in as many skeins as I used up, and I think that's all right. That's kind of my bare minimum goal right now. I would still love to decrease my overall yarn stash, but it's a work in progress. I think it'll take years probably. It takes a long time to use up yarn, and I don't have all the hours in the day. I have other things going on, but I would love to share with you the yarn that came into my life in September. It was a yarn aplenty type of a month, and I've already shared some of the packages I got, like from Treehouse Knits, the cocoa yarn and things like that, but I wanted to share some other yarn that'll become projects in the near future. Sorella yarn. Okay, first off, I love her yarn. I love her yarn so much, and she had a Taylor Swift collection recently. I am a huge Taylor Swift fan, and she's been all over things with her new releases, and especially her Red album is coming out soon, her re-release for that, but I will get to that in a minute. I bought from this Taylor Swift collection Cardigan and Ivy, and I intend to pair these together in a sock. Sorry, I have cat hair like all over the place. I intend to pair these together in a sock. I think it's called the Little Tree Farm socks, and I'll pop it up on the screen. I can't remember the designer, but it's a simple colorwork sock, perfect for the winter. So I'm really excited to cast these on when it's closer to cold weather so I can wear these for the Christmas season. And then I also bought a sock set with All Too Well and Folklore is the mini. This is kind of like a pearlescent mauve purple gray, and All Too Well has like some of that gray mauve light pink tones as well as the really deep magenta and plum and everything in between, and I just think it's so beautiful. I love this colorway. I loved how the swatch looked, and All Too Well is really one of my favorite songs by Taylor Swift, and I heard she's coming out with like a 10-minute version for her Red re-release album in November. So these are going to be my Taylor Swift socks. Just gonna knit a pair of vanilla socks, and I'm gonna be wearing them for her release when I first listen through the album, and it'll be very meta, but I'll enjoy it a lot. So that's a pair of vanilla socks in the works. Another pair of vanilla socks that I'll be making, though they're not as high up on my queue, this skein of yarn from Forbidden Fibre Co. Actually, on my phone, I like it a lot better because you can see a lot clearer what I'm trying to show you. So I might do more podcasty video on my phone, I'm not sure. But Forbidden Fibre Co., they are at one of my local yarn stores. I have two that are about 20 minutes away from me in different directions. Fillery Yarn and Uncommon Threads. This is from Uncommon Threads in Los Altos. I'm in the South Bay area, near San Francisco-ish, San Jose area. Kind of where we are. Anyway, this is the Gluttony sock base, an 80/20. The colorway is called Time Turner, and I just loved the variety of color, and I thought this would be really interesting to work up. It's got a couple of my favorite colors, this like magenta-y and this teal with some yellow gold. So I thought this would be so cool to see how it works up. But that's kind of like at the bottom of my queue. I have other things in the works, like a new design out of this yarn, this squishy goodness. This is Rowan Alpaca Classic. It's a DK weight yarn, alpaca and cotton blend, and I'm going to make a color block, color striping scarf out of this yarn. I am sharing a process vlog on the designing of this piece, and so you can see my inspiration, how I set up the design, my actual like physical process of designing and making, any tweaking I'll do. I haven't started this yet, but I've made a swatch and I've made good progress on preparing to start. So as soon as I get some things off of my hook and needles and I have a little bit more time on my hands, I'm gonna be starting this pattern. So hopefully it'll be set to release sometime in November. But my goal for this, since it's got the alpaca, so it'll be really cozy, got a beautiful drape is the hope. And I'm really hoping that this is gonna be the kind of elegant, classy piece that you could wear to your day job downtown at the office, and then you could also wear it home in the cabin drinking some tea, getting all cozy. And so it'll be the perfect like elegant, classic, cozy, warm blanket scarf. So that's the plan for this yarn. I'm really excited to start that project. So I really need to finish some other things so I can get going on that. Then last but not least, I got a mystery yarn package from my mom. I mentioned earlier that she crochets, and over the past couple of years, we have both really gotten into the fiber arts. And it's been really fun to share that love with her. And anytime I'm visiting her or she's visiting me or we're going somewhere together, we will try to hit up a yarn store, a local yarn store, and get some goodies. It's been so fun to share that with her. And she recently went to a Fibre festival back home where she's from, where I'm from, in New York, and she bought this yarn for me. She bought 2 skeins of it, but it is Zany Craft's Sensible Sock 75/25 blend in the colorway Starry Night. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, like 2 skeins of figuring weight yarn, but I think it's beautiful. Like that blue is so vibrant, and I'm really interested to see how this yarn works up. So yeah, that was a really fun surprise, and that was really nice of my mom. I was not expecting it, and so that was like really fun. Thanks, Mom. And so yeah, that's some of my other recent acquisitions. Okay, so last but not least, let's talk about news, kind of what happened in September for Crochet Creations and looking forward into October in the coming months, what's happening. I've already talked about some designs that are in the works right now, but talking about September, I had a couple pattern releases, which I'm super excited about. Sorry, I keep forgetting that my camera is like right over here and I keep looking straight at me. I'm working on it. So I have a couple of pattern designs, and it's really exciting to have designs that really invigorate me and make me excited to create and something new. Something where I learn and I grow as a maker. And so both the designs that came out in September are that for me. So I'm really excited and really proud of these designs. I have the Just Peachy Pinafore, which was designed for my daughter Georgia. One of her themes is peach, of course. One of her nursery colors, and then we picked her name, and now we're just stuck with peaches being a theme for her, basically. But I'm not complaining. So I made this pinafore for her. I saw this yarn by LaRue Cotton. It's Pima DK, and the colorway is Georgia Peach, of course, and Sunny Days. And I knew I had to have this yarn to make something for my daughter. I designed this pinafore. I went through the whole testing and tech editing process, and I'm really proud of this design that I came out with. It's linked in the description if you're interested in it. I really love this design. It has a really interesting peach and leaf texture that I figured out on my own, a new stitch pattern that I made up on my own. And so you can find the stitch tutorial linked down below as well if you're interested in seeing that. And I'm really proud of it. I love the ruffles, I love the picots, I love the peach and leaf detailing that I did. I hope to include those stitches in future designs as well. That was a huge design release that I had. And then something a little bit smaller, but I participated in a blog hop hosted by Pineapple and Pine. They are a collaboration between a plush pineapple and Crafting for Weeks, trying to help and motivate small designers. I participated with them before on other events and like releases and promotions, but I've never done a blog hop with them before. This was their first time. So I created for their Pumpkin Palooza blog hop, I created the Life is Gourd dishcloth pattern set. And this also uses a really interesting texture to create a pumpkin motif within the pattern. And it was really actually kind of hard mathematically to figure out. And so I'm really proud that I worked it out in a way that is really pleasing to me. And I hope that other people like it too. We had lots of downloads for the blog hop. And if you didn't download it for the blog hop, that's okay. It's still available in my shops. I am so looking forward to seeing some of these Life is Gourd dishcloths coming to life. I think that it's the perfect blend of seasonal funkiness, but also something really modern and elegant looking that could totally fit in with like any kitchen decor for the season. So it's a little bit more subtle than having a whole pumpkin patch on your counter, but something that's useful, something functional, but also something that is an ode to pumpkins and this season. So I'm really proud of that design as well. I already talked about a few designs that are in the works, but I'm mostly taking a back seat as far as designing goes for the next few months. I have a lot of things in my queue, a lot of other designers I want to support and things I want to make. I'm just gonna be trying to enjoy myself and relax and recuperate and be rejuvenated by the process of crocheting and knitting. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I think mostly I'm into knitting right now because there's so many skills to learn, and now this whole other world of crafting has opened up to me so that I can support other makers and designs that I had only looked at from afar and never believed I could actually make, but now I can. So that's kind of where my attention is going. Then as far as my blog content, I'm still going to be sharing my Attack My Stash update for September, so you can learn all about the yarn that I brought into my life, the yarn I used up, kind of lessons that I've learned along the way. I'm still not quite sure if I'm going to continue this goal through next year actively. I know I definitely want to continue working through my stash, but I'm still thinking about kind of what the future is going to look like for that goal. But also on my blog, I'm hoping to do a roundup of make-alongs that are going on right now from now through the end of the year. I've noticed that there's tons and tons and tons of community events, and I've really enjoyed participating in the ones that I've participated in the past, and I would love to participate in more make-alongs, knit-alongs, crochet-alongs. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of all of the information about it and to make sure to be aware of what's going on because there's just so much. And so I'm going to put together a blog post listing all this important information for different make-alongs I learn about so that it can be a resource for myself and for you too, so that if there are other things that you want to participate in, so that if there are other make-along events that you want to participate in, other community events, that you can learn more about them and that you can know maybe what makes are eligible, if something strikes your eye, that you can get involved with something new and really broaden your online crafting community, because that's been, at least for me, it's been something really special during this stressful time of less social interaction, it's been really good to have that online community, and I want to continue growing mine, and I think that you would want to grow yours as well. So this is supposed to be a helpful resource. As I learn of more and more make-alongs, I'm going to upload them onto this blog post so you can continually come back, maybe even find out what you're already making that is eligible for different prizes or participation. And yeah, so that's the plan. Within the next week, I should have that blog post up and ready to go. And as I said, I'll be continually updating it as I learn of more and more make-alongs. So again, if you know of any, let me know in the comments below so I can make sure to include them. And we can support not only like the big names like Stephen West that has this massive knit-along, what a huge community involved with his mystery knit-along, but also the smaller designers and smaller make-alongs that are maybe having their first time that you can support and really get involved in and get excited about having that little community. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with Crochet Creations. I'm hoping to maybe do a craft fair sometime, but it's already October and I haven't signed up for anything, so I don't know if that's going to happen this season. We shall see. Thank you for being here as I explored the realm of knit and crochet podcasting for the first time. I would love to have recommendations on how to make this type of content better. I really do want to share what I'm working on, and that's really my main motivation. I want to have a discussion about what I'm doing and see what you're making too. And so definitely leave in the comments below any big projects that you're working on and enjoying, maybe any make-alongs you're participating in over the next few months. If you like this type of content and want to see more, please like, and again, give me any feedback you have so I can continue making this type of content better. Or if you have other ideas for content you want to see, I definitely want to do more studio vlogs, day in the life of a work-at-home mom vlogs, process vlogs, stitch tutorials, podcasting, things like that. I would love to continue sharing. So if you have any other ideas or things you want to see, let me know in the comments. And if those things sound like the kind of content you want to follow along with and see improve as I continue to work on this YouTube thing, please subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you can join me for future videos. As I said, all links will be in the description. If I don't have room in the description for everything, a link to show notes in my blog so that you can go back and see really every single item that I mentioned, so that if anything is interesting to you or you hear of any new makers that you want to support, that you can find them pretty easily. That is all, and thank you for joining me through the craziness of switching cameras and switching days, and I hope that this is still really fun for you. Yeah, I'm excited to have you here and to see where else this channel goes. Thanks for being here. Happy making.